these larger companies have to use something to bind the deli meat together so that it will slice. And so they will put in this, modified potato starch that will help bind all of this meat together. But ultimately, what it results in is you have to use higher sodium. You have to have, again, the salt and the potato starch or the carrageenan, and you have to like blend it all together. And then, that is what will hold the meat together. So you'll have higher sodium, and you'll have lower protein content, which will ultimately leave you feeling hungry.
Welcome to the Clean Body Podcast. I'm Lauren Kelly, a certified nutrition therapist and soon-to-be specialized holistic cancer coach with a certification in cancer biology from UC Berkeley. I am so grateful that you're here. This podcast introduces you to the souls and brains behind some of the cleanest food, beverage, and lifestyle products on the market. Because what you put on, in, and around your body matters. From cookies, bread, and mushroom superfoods, to adaptogenic lozenges, clean medicines, organic mattresses, and fluoride-free toothpastes, we'll explore how the brands came to be, how scientific studies drove decisions about ingredients and materials, and most importantly, how the products support all the physical and mental microscopic miracles that occur in your body every minute of every day. Thank you for being here. Let's get this started. Hello. It's our first ever episode of the Clean Body Podcast. I honestly can't believe that we're here. I'm getting goosebumps even talking about it right now and filming this introduction. I am just so excited to share this project with all of you. It has been such a labor of love, and it has been so inspiring and exciting talking to some of these founders and these inspiring humans that are working diligently day in and day out to provide clean food, beverage, and lifestyle products for you and me. It was so incredibly hard choosing which episode to publish first. It was nearly impossible. I had to take it to Instagram to figure out what people wanted to hear about, and I got an overwhelming response about turkey, which I wasn't completely expecting, but I was thrilled because this is one of my favorite interviews and episodes that we have filmed for the very first season. So we're going to be kicking things off with the longest interview ever. It's about 90 minutes, but I promise you that it's packed with so much interesting, important, and sometimes upsetting information about the meat products we're all consuming, if we're consuming them. In this episode, I talked to Heidi Diestel, a fourth-generation turkey farmer at the Diestel Family Ranch. She runs the ranch with her brother and husband with the mission to help people eat better with pure, nourishing whole foods. Heidi is so passionate about advancing people's understanding of nutrition and health that she actually received her certified personal trainer certification from the National Academy of Sports Medicine. Now that she's at the helm of Diestel Family Ranch and a mother herself, she is even more committed to helping children and their families understand the power of good nutrition. During the 90 minutes, you'll hear us talk about the real difference between all-natural, pasture-raised, organic, and heirloom turkeys, why an organic label doesn't equate to a healthy product, why not all turkeys want to be free range, and why turkey products in grocery stores often have modified potato starch, carrageenan, sodium, and other ingredients listed on the nutrition labels. We also get into regenerative agriculture, using gray water for irrigation, composting, which I love, I'm obsessed with worms, and how Heidi feels about the plant-based and vegan movements. Plus, also, how eating clean products impacts athletic and daily performance. We talk about so much. That's why it's 90 minutes. All the other episodes after this are about an hour long, but in this one, we just couldn't stop talking. I hope you like it. I am so very proud of it, and I'm so very grateful that you're here. If you like this episode, please consider writing a review for the podcast, subscribing, sharing it with your friends. I hope to continue making these for a very long time to go. Without further ado, welcome to the Clean Body Podcast, Heidi.
Thanks for having me.
I'm so excited to talk to you. I have been eating copious amounts of Diestel products, mainly turkey. I haven't had turkey sandwiches because I'm so weary of turkey,
Yeah.
especially sliced turkey you get from the conventional grocery store in years. Years.
Yeah.
And I
Mm.
most recently have been eating so many turkey sandwiches and they're delicious. And I'm so grateful for you for creating turkey that I feel comfortable consuming. Um,
Oh, thank you.
yeah, so it's going to be a great episode. So to jump in
Yeah.
here, before we talk about the products that you make at your family
Mhm.
ranch, I want to hear about your childhood because it seems like it was somewhat unique. You know, you grew up, I think from my research, your mom worked on the farm,
Mhm.
and so you were there with her. And so
Mhm.
what was that like growing up?
Yeah, I mean, it was a fantastic childhood. I mean, it was amazing. So when I was a kid, like for the first few years, actually, we lived like on the ranch, like literally in the middle of the
I'm
ranch, and
jealous.
then yeah, and things got a little too hectic, and we had like trucks driving, and my parents were too busy, and so basically, we had to move like into town where they could keep us contained. But no, I mean, it was fantastic. Like, I don't think that there's a better way to grow up. I mean, folks that have lived in a farm environment or just like in a more rural place, like it's just a phenomenal way to grow up. Like you just have I don't know. Yeah, you run outside, you like, get yourself into a bunch of trouble that's not really trouble at all, but it just is such a humbling way to just kind of, I don't know, understand your surroundings, understand nature. Like it's just a very humbling way. So,
That's really cool, though. I mean, there are so many studies
yeah.
out there that show what an impact growing up on a ranch with animals and the responsibility of taking care of animals and the connection to animals has on children.
Mhm.
So I just think
Yeah.
that's really awesome and cool.
Yeah.
I am curious why turkeys?
Well, so the family, like I'm fourth generation, and the family, like, has been here since the early 1900s, in our area in Tuolumne County, which is where it kind of all started. And so the family was raising chickens and turkeys at the time, and then we had like a farm, a produce kind of area and section, and then we did apples. So there was a lot to it back in the early 1900s. And then the one thing that kind of rang true was just poultry was a really hot commodity through the 50s. And my grandpa, Jack Diestel, who formally started Diestel Turkey Ranch in 1949, that's what he started with. And it just kind of stuck. And so, my dad was raised with the business, and, kind of just saw the uniqueness of the family's like mission or vision for how to grow the animals. And just like in general, our approach on farming was always one that was clean. It was always one that was like just a bit unique. We didn't like we never removed the antibiotic out of our program. We were never a conventional farm. Like that just wasn't our way. So
Mm-hmm.
it's like in the 1980s when my parents took over the ranch and bought the ranch and decided that they wanted to do this for a living. Like they went to butcher shops in the San Francisco, peninsula there, which is kind of our backyard because we're about 2.5 hours directly east of San Francisco. And, they just said, look at like, we have an antibiotic free, vegetarian fed, really good quality turkey. And everyone kind of just looked at them like they were
Who
very
cares?
odd. Yeah.
Yeah.
They're like, I don't, that's like a foreign language.
So you
And
don't have coloring and sugar in your turkey?
yeah, right.
Gross.
Exactly. Yeah. So it wasn't popular. Like it wasn't something that was, you didn't sell the product because it had certified organic, gap separated, it just wasn't a thing. And,
Mm.
my parents believed in it. Our family believed in it. We thought it was just better, and it created a better product, the taste, the texture, like everything that you and I will probably talk about today and the reasons why we exist is the just the fundamentals of having like really good nutrient dense food. So, you know, I don't know. It's just not that like we didn't dream it up. It's just like how we are. So
Well, apparently you were ahead of the curve because now there's all the science to back up everything that you're saying.
yeah.
My husband even I always bring him up on these podcasts because we have very conflicting views. We just
Mm,
grew up differently, and now I'm very into nutrition and health, and I'm getting him on the bandwagon slowly. I'm
slowly but
converting him.
surely. Hey,
Converting him.
you have to chip away at it every day. And that's the thing. Like, it's not like we're here to be like, oh, this is the end all be all. Like,
Mm,
yeah, you can choose lesser quality proteins or even just like snacks, like potato chips. I get it. Like, there are certain potato chips out there that are never going to have the crunch or the snap or the
mm,
flavor or the texture of like a clean potato chip. There's a reason for that,
yeah.
like chemically induced in your brain, but mishmash. Like
Mm.
there's a reason for it, but at the same regard, sustainability wise, like this is our bodies are the only, it's the holy grail. It's the only one you're ever going to be given. Like we should probably take care of them.
Conventional products do take certain measures to make you addicted to the food and to make you crave that food. And so that crunch that you think is so good and can never be captured by
Yeah,
a clean product, I mean, you've kind of been manipulated to feel that way. And when I first started eating clean, I used to always say, well, I've just kind of accepted the fact that nothing will ever taste as good, but I'm doing something better for my body. But
right.
now that I've done it for so long, I go back and I try those products and I think they're disgusting. Like, I'm
Oh,
so not into
completely with
them.
you. Oh, I'm completely with you. And that's the crazy part that you don't understand until it's like a coming again. I mean, it's a ritual. Like, it's funny because somebody literally this week handed me one of the big bars, like a Snickers or a Mars bars or I don't know something, butter, whatever those. I don't even know the brand. I should
Butterfinger.
Butterfinger, whatever Ruth baby. I don't know what they are. I'm sorry, but
I love it.
um, anyway, someone handed me one of these and they're like, oh, you have to try it. It's a brand new, whatever, look at how it was like a brownie layered something. And I just kind of like, my team knows me. Like, they know that that's just not my jam. Like, I love chocolate. I love sweets. Don't get me wrong. I love to bake, but like, I'm not into like that mainstream stuff. And so they handed it to me, and my coworker walks out of my office and is like, I handed that to Heidi, and she's looking at me like I just gave her crack. And I'm like, hey, it is. Like, it actually
It
is. Like,
really
that
is.
is how your brain responds to it. Like, there's a reason why we are obese in our country. There's a reason why, like, we have such poor health because we are addicted to these foods that are just so unhealthy for us. And, it's great, like, it's great to have fun and have a sweets every so often and that sort of thing. But like, it's just, yeah, we need to value our own bodies, and we need to understand that like this is the future of our food, and we can vote every day to vote for the better, or we can vote every day for the convenience and just like um fueling that addiction really.
God, I feel like we could be best friends.
Well, I have
Yeah.
your cell phone number, so put me on your phone a friend list,
There we go. There we go. I totally agree though. And it's the power to retrain your brain,
Oh,
is just so
mm,
insane. And you
yeah,
will, once you start eating clean, your brain will change and your taste buds will change and what you expect out
yes,
of food will change. So
yes,
initially it seems hard and daunting and you don't like what you're eating, but you're doing
yeah,
something better for your body and for your future. And so you just got to stick in there because one day you'll pick up a Reese's like I did last Halloween and just
mm,
take a bite to like see if it tastes as good as you remember it tasting in your
yeah,
childhood days. And it tastes terrible. It's foul. That is
yeah.
not peanut butter. I don't know what that is. It's shiny. Chocolate shouldn't be shiny if it's clean.
Mm,
Like just all the
totally,
things. Yeah.
totally. Yeah, I'm with you.
But we just went on a 12-minute rant before I've gotten to any questions that I had outlined for this. So that's how this episode is going to go.
Oh, that's
um,
awesome.
But it sounds like for the most part, you really just grew up with this mentality of eating clean and putting
Yeah.
nourishing whole foods in your body. Was there ever a point where you wanted to rebel against that? Or have you always
Oh,
just ingrained this health and wellness lifestyle into your DNA?
oh no. I mean, my mom was, oh, come on, let's be real. My mom was a registered dietitian. That's what she was studying to be before she met my dad and married a turkey farmer, you know? And so my mom was like a health nut. And, you know, I'm so thankful for it, quite frankly, because I just, you know, I don't know. I don't know. I would be a statistic if I wasn't, you know, her daughter. So, um, I, of course, loved, you know, anything that my mom prevented us from having, which was
Mm,
like 90% of what you find in a grocery store. You know, like
yep.
we didn't grow up with any type of like sugary cereal. We couldn't even eat like plain yogurt. We couldn't have vanilla yogurt because it had too much sugar in it. Like this was just, this is just how I was raised. And so there was a whole period, especially when I went off to college, that I'm like, dude, I'm free from all of that craziness and I can buy whatever I want. I can eat whatever I want. And I distinctly remember being like a freshman in college and like shoving like a box of Cheez-Its down, you know, and I'm like, this is awesome. And then I also remember the aftermath of like those years and just being like, oh, I don't feel good. Like, I
But you
don't
knew already what it was to feel good. Most people live their whole lives thinking that's just
ex-
how you're supposed to feel, and it's not.
exactly.
Yeah.
No, completely. And so it was actually a really good thing because I didn't want to have anything to do with the ranch. I was like, I'm out of here. I got my personal training certification, which was funny because I was going through this at the exact same time as I started training, and that was my job in college. I was a personal trainer. You know, like I grew up playing sports, and I thought it would be fun. And yeah, what I realized was just like this ranch and what we were doing in the space of natural and organic food and staying really pure to our mission. I mean, there are so many natural organic meats out there that have modified potato starch. They have carrageenan. They have, you know, super high sodium in them, lower protein content. They're going to be certified organic. They're going to be like brands that you think have really great attributes. And when you look at the package, the nutritional, the ingredients, when you eat the product, you're like, that wasn't really what I was hoping for. And so there's a lot of, you know, kind of, I wouldn't say misleading. It's just that they've chosen to put, you know, pounds over quality, right? They want quantity. They want to have more market share. They want to sell more pounds. They want to do it with more margin. And we've said, like, consciously, for better or for worse, I hope we're here in 20 years. You know, we don't want to do that. Like, we think that people deserve to have food that tastes really good, higher protein content, lower sodium content, not a bunch of crap in their ingredient statement that it shouldn't be there. And we should just make it with really good tasting turkey. And so, you know, that's been our commitment. And that's where, you know, we are seeking out those folks in the world that also want to make that commitment back to like their health and well-being.
Yeah, I mean, that's why I was so excited to have you on this podcast because typically I'm interviewing brands that are creating like, clean bars or clean
Yeah.
drinks. There's multiple ingredients in it. And the average listener will think, well, turkey is just turkey, but turkey's not just
Yeah.
turkey. There's so many
Mm-mm.
ingredients in the turkey that you're buying at most grocery stores. So let's dig into some of those ingredients that you listed a little bit.
Yeah.
Modified potato starch. I'm like a holistic nutritionist, and honestly, I couldn't even tell you what it is or why it's bad for your body.
Yeah.
I just stay
So
away from
mod
it.
Yeah. So basically, what modified potato starch does is it is a filler. It's a filler in the meat, and so that deli meats can be made with whole muscle, kind of butcher quality cuts, or it can be made with more of an emulsion of like trimmings, breast trim, just it's more of an emulsion, if you will. It's kind of like mixed in. And so when it's an emulsion, when it's not necessarily like whole muscle. I mean, at one point, all of those bits and scraps were off of a muscle, but it's not like an entire breast lobe that's being roasted for the deli meat. When it's an emulsion, they have to use, like these larger companies have to use something to bind the deli meat together so that it will slice. And so they will put in this, modified potato starch that will help bind all of this meat together. But ultimately, what it results in is you have to use higher sodium. You have to have, again, the salt and the potato starch or the carrageenan, and you have to like blend it all together. And then, that is what will hold the meat together. So you'll have higher sodium, and you'll have lower protein content, which will ultimately leave you feeling hungry, right, after you eat a sandwich, because you just ate a whole sandwich with the benefits of the bread and the onion and the tomato and whatever else you put on your sandwich. But the meat, the protein, comprised with the bread and the carbohydrates and the sugars and what have you, is what keeps you full. Your body has to go through and, basically break the chain, if you will, in your digestion tract. And then you get hungry 3 hours later, not an hour and a half later, right? And so when you have lower sodium, higher sodium and lower protein content, that's where you're just, you're not eating something that's going to keep your body full. It's just a filler for your body. It's a filler for the companies making these deli meats.
Yeah. I love that you brought up how it satiates you if you're eating cleaner meat, which means you're eating less. And
yes,
it's ultimately, I was thinking about clients and friends who tell me that it's so expensive to buy clean products. But if you're eating less of them, it's actually probably going to balance out. Like I eat 2 meals a day that are just like packed with nutrients and proteins and healthy fats and what I need. And I never get hungry. I was hungry at the beginning of this podcast and talking about modified potato starch. That hunger went away a little bit. um, but if you think about it, when you're investing into these products and you're investing in your body and your health, you're actually not eating all day long. You're eating less. So perhaps the cost of it actually ends up offsetting it. Plus, you don't have all those crazy health bills down the line.
Oh, completely. And like some of the other crazy stuff is like you can find like, cornstarch or corn syrup even in deli meats. Like I remember doing demos and people would ask me like, is there gluten in your deli meat? I'm like, is that a trick question?
Yeah.
I'm like, this is meat. Like, I don't know, why would there be gluten? Like, I'm confused, and, there were companies adding like gluten, wheat fillers, whatever, into the meats. And so you're totally right. Like, yes, it costs more, but how much more, like, incrementally does it truly cost? Because if you list out in a day, like, I just encourage people to do this. Like, if they're eating poorly, or if they're eating these meals that are really heavily processed meals, whether it's like a sandwich they think that they've made at home but with really processed meat in it, like add it all up, make a journal of it for 1 week, just like your normal eating habits, and then for the next week get rid of that all, buy just like a week commitment, buy really good meat, meal prep, make your food, and truly look at like your costs of your servings, because what they're going to find, especially if they do it more than 1 week, because their body will start to kind of like, regulate to like this better quality food, is that they're not going to be going back to the fridge in an hour and a half. They won't. Like we've had so many people, like our IT director, he told us when he first started here that they would always buy like the Oscar Mayer or the Sara Lee deli meat. And he literally said, like, my teenage son is back in the fridge, and like I just had made him a sandwich. He goes, I started, obviously buying our deli turkey, and his son wasn't coming back in an hour and a half. He was satiated. And that's the difference, is that we think that we're eating healthy because we're eating a turkey sandwich. It's just there's no nutrients left in that food.
I love that so much. Like, I really had never thought of it through that lens prior to
Hmm.
recording this episode. And it's such a good way to explain, even to clients when I'm having them switch. Yes, it is an investment, but almost, well, is it an investment? I just really love that
Yeah.
perspective on
Yeah.
things. The other ingredient that I really want to call out because it's in so many products besides corn syrup, which just stay. Oh, if you see corn syrup
So
on
bad.
a label,
Put it
just
back.
put it back. Yeah. But is carrageenan. And carrageenan
Mm.
is in just so many things, including those little egg bites that everyone loves from Starbucks, which I used to
Yeah.
love before I was in nutrition.
Totally.
And it's tough. It's in a lot of foods, but that's a carcinogenic, right?
Hmm.
Which contributes to the onset of cancer, essentially.
Totally. Yeah. I mean, there's been a lot of studies that have been done, and you know, they don't sound good, right? So, I mean, it's a controversial ingredient in
Mhm.
that, some folks don't feel that it is directly correlate, and then like you have a lot of folks like us that are like-minded that are like, why would I even want to consume that if it's a question?
Right.
Like that's just not, I don't have to have it. But again, it goes back to the fact that like it's a filler for these companies. It's a way to, in milks and in yogurt and in deli meat, you can find it in some deli meats. It's a filler, and it's a way to enhance the texture of these products because they have so many processing aids. They're putting these products through so many processes that probably don't need to be happening for the mere fact that it's enhancing their yield, enhancing the pounds through their plant. There's a reason why they're using it, and it's for their benefit, but it's not, in my opinion, for the benefit of the consumer. Like
Mhm.
if you've never heard of modified potato starch, if you can't buy it and know like how to use it, then why is it in a product that you're buying? Same with carrageenan, like same with corn syrup. Like why do we allow, like, as a shopper, we get to vote every day? Like we literally go to a grocery store or we buy it from our phones, however we shop, and we literally get to vote every day. So why do we support these products that like we can't buy ourselves and put in our products ourselves? Like I think it's kind of, it just, there's a convenience to it, right?
Mhm.
Like it's very convenient to go and buy and find these meals, but at the same regard, the convenience then and the trade-off then is ultimately going to be our health.
But also, if you think about going to the grocery store and giving your money to someone, if you saw those people in front of you, are you going to give your money to someone who is making a product to truly benefit you? They're doing it for
Mm,
your health, or are you going to give your money to someone who is only doing it for more money?
right.
That's kind of the difference. And so we need to
Right.
start attaching
Mm-hmm.
those, not just ethics, but intentions to brands. What is your intention for the money I'm
Yes.
giving you? Because
Yes.
good people want to support good people. And so it kind of
Totally.
changes the mindset of purchasing when you're in the grocery store.
Right. And also, like, when we go to a grocery store, like, I'm all for competition and I'm all for good food. And I think that there's a place for everyone. Look at, like, Diestel's never going to make all the turkey in the world. Like, we're not. That's not our goal. But we want to make really good turkey for those people that want to source really good turkey. And I'm sure that in New York or, Florida or, through the South, there could be another turkey farmer out there who wants to do the same thing. And maybe they're filling their niche in that location. That's great. Like that's good for them. But, when we look at our shelves of food, right, you know, they're owned by huge conglomerates. I mean, I'm talking like massive. And this came to a head during COVID, where shelves started going bare because, the food system
Oh
is like,
gosh,
it's broken. Like you
it
can't
was
even
so
find
upsetting.
a local purveyor. So, you have really, really, really massive food conglomerates producing the majority of the food in America. And, profit is a big thing to them. Revenue is a big deal. And, when it comes down to it, sure, I'm sure that those companies are looking, to talk about how they're making great products or how they're benefiting the consumer. But at the end of the day, revenue rings at the highest regard, and profits are important, and pounds through those production facilities that are massive production facilities is a huge priority to them. And so if it pays, great. And if the quality has to be a little bit of a detriment, if we put modified potato starch in just a smidge, so be it. Like, they're not farmers. They aren't producing food that has integrity. They're just producing food and putting the seals of approval that our shoppers think that they should be looking for.
We are going to talk about those labels because they are so confusing, the organic and all natural and heirloom and the difference between them all. But I do also want to just add on to that you can't fall for the social impact of big corporations as them being a thoughtful, well-intentioned company. So many of these huge conglomerates can vow $1 million to an organization, but to them that is $1, and it makes them look better in the consumer eye, so you continue to buy their products. So I'm not going to say that all leaders are not well intentioned,
Totally.
but by any means. However, you can't let that. You have to be an educated consumer, and like you said, vote with your wallet, and it can take a bit more time, but once you start learning, like even people listening to this podcast right now, they're already on their journey to being a more mindful consumer and already learning these things, and it'll start to get easier. So I just makes me happy that you're here.
Well, just know your farmer. Like, that's just, at the end of the day, a local CSA farmer who is like at your farmer's market, who grew produce a couple miles away, they're going to have the knowledge. Like, they're going to have, the information. They are going to help you have higher nutrient density in your food, which is the name of the game. Like, in America, we do not think about nor, sell out of, like, we talk about pounds to market. There is no like label or anything that talks about nutrient density. I think that there's a couple out there, and as it relates to like nuts, I think there's a few, maybe like the Andes score, but nutrient density is just not something that's discussed. And I think it just has to be like paramount. Like, that will decide for you, because the folks that are doing it right, the folks that are like, trying to make a better quality product, it's going to come through in the ingredient statement, the nutritional panel, and just like the connection to the farm. Like, just know your farmer.
So now we're going to go into my favorite conversation, which is nutrient profiles of food. And so I'm super curious then, because you're so passionate about this, what do you do to understand and gauge the nutrient density of your foods, test them out? I read so many interesting things on your website that I had never really heard of farmers doing before. So I'd love for you to just explain some of your practices and your values that you put into everything that comes off the ranch.
Totally. So for us, it's really about what we don't put in our products versus what we do. So it all starts on the farm. It starts with the feed and having like a really good, consistent feed. So we're never least costing our feed. We're not, a least costing feed is like, as a farmer, poultry is typically grown with corn and soy. And so we're sourcing like really good quality corn and soy. But other farms will say, hey, that's really expensive inputs, right? Feed can be really costly. It's one of the biggest cost inputs into an agricultural farm with livestock. And so they're going to say, hey, I want, wheat or grains or, some other type, like dried distillers grains, which are a byproduct of the ethanol industry. And they're going to least cost whatever cheapest and, change their feed rations so that they have a lower feed cost, but the quality of the bird and, the quality of the meat and to some regard, just the finish and the taste and the texture, that really gets impacted. So we don't do that. We have a really good, consistent feed quality. I also think that, like, I don't know why so many people are struggling and continue to struggle. Our youth continue to struggle with adversions, or intolerances or allergies. Like that's a whole nother discussion. But I think this kind of like concept about like you are what you eat, or, especially in meat, we've had so many consumers call us and be like, I can't eat any poultry, but I can eat your turkey. And I don't know why scientifically this is, but I think it's got to do something with like, okay, well, the turkey's feed is really consistent and it's as high quality as we can make it. So that's got to be something, like that has to be adding in there. So first, that's one thing that we do. Another thing we do on our ranches, which may seem small, but we think it's huge, is we do not use like chemical cleaners on the farms. We use a probiotic cleaning solution throughout our barns. And like, in the summer, it gets really hot here. And so we'll put it like misters in our barns so that the turkeys are like under misters, if you're like out at a
Living
cafe.
the good life.
It's the same concept. It's actually really comfortable because it gets like 100 degrees here. It's super hot. So anyways, we have like the probiotics and the misters, and we are all about having a really healthy microbial environment. So we spread like fresh pine wood shavings when the turkeys are baby colts. Again, like this adds to a really healthy microbial environment where we're not trying to eradicate the natural biology. Like that's one thing about cleaners that just irks me to no end. It's 99.9% clean. Well, bacteria is everywhere. Bacteria is on us, in our mouths, under our nails. Like it's not about eradicating this bacteria. It's about using like the natural landscape, rub some dirt on it, right? Like using the natural microbes to outcompete the bad bugs. We want good bugs to outcompete the bad bugs. So that's something that we just think is like mission critical in farming.
Microbiome is my favorite word. I love talking about the microbiome. I just want to pause for one quick second. The microbiome I'm talking about here is the gut microbiome. The gut microbiome is home to lots of bacteria, fungi, and viruses that help digest our food, regulate our immune system, protect against other bacteria that can cause disease, and produce vitamins and hormones like dopamine and serotonin, our happy hormones. Let's get back to the interview. How does the microbiome of a turkey impact the meat that we end up consuming?
I don't know exactly. I think that is something that probably needs more research. I really do. And I think it's probably high time for someone to really articulate that. We see that in the health of the bird, and we think in just the strength and what we perceive to be the health and the happiness of the bird. We see it being light years difference. I mean, we don't use antibiotics in our program. There are, farms out there that could use like responsible use. We don't have the antibiotics, throughout our programs. So, we're really working on and relying on biology to do its thing. We're really, working to say, okay, when we clean out a barn and we mop down and spray and clean and scrub. I mean, these are outdoor barns with, a whole flock of turkeys in it, which could be, 10,000 turkeys could be together, right? Like turkeys are animals that want to be together in a flock environment. So, it's not clean like we think of clean in our living spaces. It's a barn with, farm animal ag, but it's clean in that context. It's ultra clean because we're allowing the good and the bad bugs to outcompete each other. And that ultimately supports a healthier, stronger turkey. Just like we've read about and thought about with all of the sanitizing and the cleaning and putting sanitizers on our hands. Their NPR actually just did a piece, I think this past week, on dishwashing and how kids that are, being raised in households that strictly use a dishwasher, they're finding some type of a connection with an increase in allergies and intolerances versus those that just hand wash their dishes.
What?
So yes, you should read it. It's highly subjective, but a very interesting article nonetheless.
Well, that's like the germ phobia that is just so pervasive. All this hand sanitizer everywhere. Of course, I know we're living through a pandemic right now, and
Totally.
that is completely valid. But you
Yes.
also like don't need to be sanitizing every single inch of your home, putting hand
Right.
sanitizer on when you're just in your own home. I mean, you are killing that bacteria that lives in your body. You're killing everything. And bad
Completely.
bacteria is opportunistic. So that means if you bring them
Completely.
back to the same level, the bad bacteria is going to overgrow the good bacteria much
Yeah.
faster. Then you have an imbalance in your body that causes inflammation and the onset of chronic conditions and immune dysfunction, which is allergies, ADHD, all of these things that are on the rise in our country. So it is
Completely.
all interconnected. And it does seem um, perplexing and cumbersome to figure it all out. But again, once you kind of start this journey, all the puzzle pieces start coming together, and it's not as hard as it seems once you
Right.
learn how to live a cleaner lifestyle.
Agreed. Totally agree. Yeah.
I am curious about space. You were mentioning your barns and how many turkeys are together, and this has always been a very, kind of controversial topic.
Totally.
Whether it's free range, open range, grass fed, it's just there's so many labels, and a lot of them don't mean anything almost. So I'm curious what
Mhm.
your living situation is with your turkeys in regards to space and
Yeah.
what labels you think are worth paying attention to, because there's a lot not worth paying attention to.
Yeah. So that's we're gonna have to break that question down.
Sure, let's do that.
There's a lot to that. Yeah. So let's talk about like the environment, right? That the birds are raised. So at Diestel, I think that that's one of the things that we have tried our best to really talk about and show because it's difficult to as a consumer when you buy a cow that's been raised out in a pasture, right? Like that's one living environment. And then you translate that to a pig, if you will, a hog. And the hogs are going to need an entirely different environment to thrive. But as a consumer, like it's an animal. So like, why would you think that a pig, a chicken, a turkey doesn't want to be like free roaming, like out on a pasture like a cow does, right? Like as a consumer, we blend these together in commercial farm animal ag, where like our job is to produce product consistently for the market, we have to consider that environment and raising environment, the welfare of the birds, the health, the happiness of the birds, but also like from a business perspective, the consistency that that's going to yield. And so like if I'm a chicken farmer, there are breeds of chicken that don't love going outside. Like they don't. So like you can show access out to the outside. And that breed is there are some chickens that do also like to be outside, but some don't. And a lot of commercial varieties of chicken don't want to go outside. Be it a turkey, turkeys will go outside. Most turkeys will go outside. But, when we look at these attributes of like animal husbandry attributes, we have to recognize what is truly serving and benefiting the turkey, right? And so, like, one key component is outdoor access, right? You see a lot about like free range or range grown. We only use range grown on our pasture turkey, our pasture raised GAP Step 5 turkey. And Global Animal Partnership is our third party animal welfare rating system that we apply. And we talk about, and you'll see on our products, and like that GAP Step 5 bird is the one bird that we will say, range grown associated with. That wasn't always the way that it was, but currently that's the bird that we say that term with, because they're truly like outdoors. Once they become of age, they live in the elements. So they are subjected to weather, predators, everything, right? The attrition of those birds is significantly higher. But those birds are raised in the most natural and wild environment unless you're going to like go hunt a turkey yourself, right? And there are consumers that feel very strongly about those animal welfare, that level of animal welfare. And so like we're one of the few producers in the country. We were one of the first to attain it, and one of like a handful that even carry that attribute in our program. And that's something to be like significantly proud of. But for like, let's say what you're going to find in your deli meat, this is going to be a more barn-centric environment. Now, because we follow the Global Animal Partnership rating, we have significantly more space, which it all depends upon the breed. If you have a tom breed versus a hen breed, it's different like square foot per animal. But on average, you have significantly more space for those birds. Now, some of those birds have access outdoors. Note, I'm not going to call it free range. Does it meet that terminology, like to the letter of like the USDA? Totally. Could we call it like all of that stuff free range? Yeah, we could. We choose not to in that organic program, because we want to educate folks about all aspects of animal husbandry. The feed is a component of animal husbandry, the cleanliness of the barns, the water, the probiotics that we talked about. These things need to be discussed. That's what's, contributing to a healthy, happy animal, not just outdoor access. And then when we talk about outdoor access and, that component, what is the quality of that outdoor access? Like, if it's raining outside, if it's, hot and 115 degrees, which it can be sometimes, like, is that right to just be like, oh yeah, go outside, right? Sure, you can give the option, but that's not necessarily championing that animal husbandry practice. And so, we're just trying to evolve the discussion around what this looks like and educate our consumers consistently on that. The barn environment, there are some barns that are sided up from like floor to ceiling, and they have lights that stay on all night that encourage a faster growth, right? Again, this is something like our barns don't look this way. But when you have farmers that are in the Midwest and it's like -20 out, maybe they need that type of a structure to keep the birds healthy and happy. So I think it really comes down again to like, there are going to be consumers out there who do not care. I mean, they care about animal husbandry, but they don't necessarily want to get into the weeds of it all. And then there are folks who really want to know, right? But when you know your farmer, you have the luxury of asking those questions. Like, you can call the Diestel Family Turkey Ranch. We will answer the phone and you can ask those questions. You can look at our videos. You can subscribe to our content, and you can actually see me or my brother or, whomever out in the barns talking to you about all of these things that we deem important. I think we just like published a video yesterday talking about the fresh pine wood shavings. So that's a complex discussion that probably could be an entire podcast on its own. But that's kind of like a very scratch the surface answer to, which was very long winded to get there, but to that one component. Does that kind of help frame that up?
Yeah, it does. And going through this, I'm also learning so much. Like, I think if I had come into my first episode and someone would have asked me about my opinion on the organic label, and I still believe this for some food categories, it is a very important, essential thing to have. However, it does depend on the food category. For example, I'm interviewing a hydroponic strawberry farmer, and they don't put organic on their label. However, the product that they're producing is better than organic, essentially.
Right.
And so,
Right.
what is your opinion on the
Mm.
organic label?
Yeah, so we were part. My dad actually was part of the inception of the organic labeling
Mm,
in 1999. So prior to 1999, you could not label meat certified organic, which is pretty wild because, like, we're in 2021. So, we really liked the certified organic label for a lot of reasons, because in the early 2000s and in the 1990s, there was a lot that we were doing that truly, like you just said, was organic or better than organic, and so for us it was like, great, here's this, finally, like these kind of standards and seal that really help frame up like all the things that we believe in. Now, with that though comes like a commodity product with the claims. And now this gets super confusing for the shoppers because Walmart sells the like most organic products, the highest amount of organic products like in America, which still blows my mind, right? So it's like, well, how can Walmart buy, and sell like more organic, certified organic products? And it's because, these businesses have found ways to attain the standards, but with a very conventional and commodity mindset. And so I completely agree with you that like there are certified organic was at one point like the holy grail. It was the purest choice, the best choice. But as a consumer, we can't just look at these claims. We can't just look at these certifications and be like, oh, look, it says it's certified organic. That's brand, whatever XYZ. It has all the claims, therefore like it must be good. And that's kind of what we're doing, right? Some label says, oh, it says that it's free range, it's got to be good, and it has no other claim associated with it. Like we have all seen this, well, what does that mean? If the product says, just free range, but it's also all natural, and it has these poor ingredients, and it has really high sodium, then is that truly of benefit? Because it has this one push button that as a consumer you want to see, right? Like, no, which is exactly why I think as a consumer, probably walking into the natural organic space, it's just overwhelming. It's overwhelming to know what you should purchase. It's overwhelming to know like what you should choose, what brands are good, what brands aren't good. Like you just want to make the best choice, and you're just inundated with information. And I think it really just boils back to a really simple concept, which is if you look in any section of the grocery store and you can say, there's my farmer, you can say, there's my produce farmer, there's my turkey farmer, my chicken farmer, there's the guy that sources the strawberries, and like he's the guy that makes the jam. It's not a huge conglomerate. You're probably going to be much closer to the nutrient density that you really should have in your food, to the whole strawberry that's mashed up and put into a jam versus the particulates and the natural flavorings that are added to make you think it tastes like strawberry jam.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, well, local farmers markets, but I do want to clarify because
Yeah.
Diestel does ship. So I want to
Mhm.
make sure that people listening know that they can also, they don't have to, after
Yes.
listening to this podcast, think, all right, well, I need to go get my turkey from a
Yeah.
local,
Sure.
farmers
Yeah.
market if they don't have time. That's a
Yeah.
great thing to do, support local. I am all about that, but I do want to
Mhm.
clarify that Diestel also does ship their products. You shipped them to me, so
Yes. Yeah, no, we totally ship. And that's one of the things, like honestly, we never thought we'd be in the direct to consumer business. If you would have asked us, we would have said probably no, never. But we had so many customers, like loyal fans go, I moved to this state, I'm rural in this location, and I cannot get your stuff. And like it's going to be a real problem. So like you need to ship it to me. So, fast forward, and, we're trying to keep up with the Joneses as best as we can. And so we do ship direct to customers all over the country, every day. And we're so thankful for that. And yeah, like I encourage local whenever possible, but I mean, of course, we would love to have you guys, jump on and purchase direct from us. And that's also a really great choice. But, I just think it's important that people know where their food comes from, regardless if they decide to, buy from Diestel or whomever, like, know where your food is coming from, because it's really simple. Like out of all the claims and everything that we talked about today, like if you know your farmer, that is going to be light years ahead of purchasing something that comes from, conglomerate X, Y, and Z. Like, and unfortunately, the majority of what we find in grocery stores are made from some pretty large companies and, brands.
yeah. Well, I do want to jump into the other labels that we have kind
Mhm.
of been throwing around. And I know that Diestel has quite a few of their own. I'm trying to find where I have them written down. You have organic, all natural, heirloom, pasture raised varieties of turkeys.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
kind of go into these. What's the difference between them? And is there a difference between the nutritional benefits of each variety?
Totally. So, yeah, we add to the confusion. Like, we are part of the problem in that way because we have so many turkeys. I will own that. No, back in the day, we had a turkey. It was the Diestel turkey, and it was like the only thing that existed because, again, it was antibiotic free, vegetarian fed. And that was a novelty. But fast forward, and now we've, identified, we still have our all natural, vegetarian fed really good, your standard Diestel turkey, right? Like that's your entry level bird, if you will. It's the OG, it's the original, and it's fantastic. It doesn't have all of the bells and whistles and all of the claims of say your GAP Step 5, you know, um, range grown pasture environment. It doesn't have that. It doesn't make it a bad turkey. It's just that that is like your entry level for those consumers, because we have them who are like, hey, I don't want the GAP Step 5. I don't want something that's certified organic. I really don't mind if it doesn't have access outdoors, because I know that you guys have all these other things that you're doing really well. You're going to get your original Diestel turkey, and we have plenty of people who love that product. So that's the original. Then you go to certified organic, which is the fundamentals, the everything we do in our program and like in the ladder of offerings, it just builds, like everything builds on top of each other. So the organic starts just like the original turkey, right? So the barns, the feed, everything starts the same. But then you have it being certified organic. Then you have that, conditional access to outdoors. Then you have no GMOs in the corn and the soy. Then, so then it just builds, right? Now, is the nutritional profile of the original Diestel and the organic Diestel inherently different? No, not in our program, because we believe that the fundamentals from the ground up are being met, right? So when you give that access outside, it doesn't necessarily change the nutritional profile. Or to date, we don't have a way to measure that it changes the nutritional profile. But now, when you go to your heritage or your heirloom breed, so our turkeys are an heirloom varietal because we've kind of crossbred them and they're proprietary breeds to us. It becomes a different like taste and texture. Again, we don't see it. We don't have a way to measure that it somehow is nutritionally better, but you definitely can taste a difference in that product. So that's kind of unique. And then we have our GAP Step 5 pasture raised, range grown on a rotational. They live with like the chickens and the goats, and we rotate their pastures, and it's part of a lot of our regenerative kind of passion and programs. And we really use that program as like a hub to say, what are we learning from this environment, which is like the epicenter of any awesome environment in farming, and saying like, is there things that we can learn from this environment that we could have economies of scale and bring it to the original turkeys or bring it to our organic turkeys, where we could still enter the market at a price point that our consumers will purchase, right? Because the cost of a pasture raised GAP Step 5 turkey is significantly more expensive than just your original Diestel turkey.
Now, are all of these holiday birds or are they the year-round turkey products that you offer a bit? And what's the difference between those?
Great question. So at the holidays, those birds are all of our holiday offerings, and then the original Diestel and the certified organic go, and they make a lot of our year-round products. Currently, we don't have products that we make year-round out of our pasture or out of our heirloom. However, it gets a little confusing because throughout the year, we also raise non-GMO, like so our original turkey, but non-GMO project verified, not quite certified organic. So we like enter a third tier, which I get is very confusing, but we are doing that so that we can kind of inch our way into like non-GMO production, but we have to do it really thoughtfully because price point is such a big deal to our shoppers. And so we're trying to inch everyone along
Mm-hmm.
without completely, abandoning, how we got into the natural organic space anyways, right? So there's a lot of shoppers who are just like, hey, I'm good with the original turkey. I don't want to pay more for non-GMO and organic. And then we have a whole subset of customers who are like, hey, I want something better. I want something that's certified organic and non-GMO. So we've made it available, and because we're farmers, we get to do that. And so we're just, we're slowly transitioning into those higher attributes as our shopping, as our consumers demand it, right? As they buy more. And we've taken the opportunity to take certain products and say, the only product you're going to find for Diestel of this, slice deli is going to be non-GMO and certified organic. Like we've done things like this so that we're trying to kind of, push ourselves along and just be that industry leader that says this is important and we should all kind of take consideration of it. But of course, with our business practices in mind, we don't get to decide what everyone actually wants, right? You guys decide, the shoppers decide.
Yeah, there's two components to your business that I just really like. And that first one is giving the consumers what they want, listening to consumers, hearing their feedback, and making business decisions about that and around that. But then the second part is staying committed to your craft and your
Yeah,
values and never compromising those in order to get the consumer what they want faster, because at the end of the
right.
day they trust you and you never want to break their trust, even if it means taking a longer time to get them the product that they're asking for.
Totally. And I mean, we've, albeit like maybe people will say it's poor business practice, but I mean, if we can't produce something in a fashion that like I'm going to feed to my family, to my girls, to our company, to our team members, then we're just not going to produce it. And
Mhm.
we've had projects and innovation pipelines where we think we have something that's super neat and really cool and really tasty, and the market has said like, no, we're not going to. Consumers are like, it's too expensive. We're not going to buy it. And we said, okay, well, we're unwilling to produce it in a cheaper fashion. So we're going to find something else to produce then. And
Yeah.
that's just that.
The life of a farmer. I love it. It's just a dream of mine. I have a lot of dreams, a lot of things to do
Uh-huh.
in this life.
We have to dream. That's part of it. I mean, that's yeah. I don't know. It's a really interesting time to be in the food industry. Like it's
Mm.
super
It's
curious to
changing.
see. It is. The landscape is changing and what consumers are demanding out of their products is changing. And
Mm.
so yeah, it's always a challenge. Like we have so many challenges in life, and this is just a piece of it. But I don't know. It's like it's such a humbling place to be too, because at the end of the day, like we can talk about like everything we talked about here, but at the end of the day, like we are like our responsibility is to produce really good, clean, delicious food in a better way. That's better for the earth. It's better for our birds. It's better for the people. And like when we do that, we've met our mission. And so, whatever matrix cube we have to put together to get that to work, like that's our mission. That's what we wake up every day, and that's what we do. And so, it's a huge passion of mine, and it's a huge passion of our families. And yeah,
Yeah,
it's just
I
crazy.
I love your family. I was gonna ask earlier if your parents are adopting. I love my family too, but just
Oh, thanks. We're a crazy bunch. Like, in order to survive in this family, you got to be just a little out there. Like people always ask, they're like, do you guys like get together outside of work? Like, it seems like you're always together because like we're truly family owned and we're truly family operated. Like, it's all of us kids. I consider us kids because I just refuse to grow up. Like we're all in here, like doing everything that needs to be done and working shoulder to shoulder with our team. And I'm like, yeah, we all vacation together, and like almost every weekend we're getting together for dinner, and we're weird, and I know that that's a lot of family time, but that's how we roll. So
I love it.
yeah.
I know that we are already up on 60 minutes. This can
Mm.
be a 3-hour episode, right? Um,
That will totally connect. I feel like people will really have that attention span.
Yeah, absolutely. I do have 3 more questions I really want to hit on before we get to the quick hit questions and wrap this thing up. So I'll try
Go
to
for
make
it.
it fast. But you mentioned regenerative farming or
Mhm.
agriculture. I also have in my notes that you filter and you reuse gray water, which I've never
Mhm.
heard of. And then you also work with local farms to replace artificial fertilizers and chemicals with compost that you produce at the farm. So those are big things. I just like threw
Yeah,
a lot of big terms at you that some of
yeah,
the listeners are like, what? But
it's
if you could
happening.
just like high level explain what those 3 things are and
Yep,
why they're important, I would love that.
totally. So, regenerative ag, big buzzword. We're seeing it a lot. Regenerative, is what it sounds like. Instead of just something that's sustaining, we're re-energizing, regenerative agriculture. So this is typically discussed with ruminant animals, be it bison or cattle or what have you. This is kind of where this discussion started, and so there's a lot of question in the market about regenerative ag, and can poultry be regenerative, or what is regenerative? Let's define it. And at Diestel, we think that all ag has a place to contribute to a regenerative cycle. And so, do we consider ourselves regenerative? No. Like, you're never going to see us label everything we do as regenerative, but we do have regenerative practices. And that's really important because our composting program, which will bleeds right into this concept. So, we're turkey farmers. We're not like row crop where we like plant into the ground and require the nutrient density of the ground and the quality of the soil to support our crop, right? We're putting a turkey on the land and we're having the turkeys interact with the land. However, we produce tons and tons of organic waste. We're talking feathers off of the turkeys when they, are processed, all of the litter and the manure that comes out of our barns, tons of organic waste. We have cardboard, paper, slash, all of these things. So my brother Jason is like, the science guy. He's like this farmer science. He comes up with all these crazy concepts that I'm like, I don't even know what you're talking about. And then he dumbs them down for me, and I'm like, wow, that's impressive. So Jason started, he traveled around New Zealand and Australia straight out of college. And he started basically, you know, being an intern for some farms in Australia, and they were talking about soil health and the nutrient density of the soil. And Jason's like, man, this is really cool. Like, we always talked about nutrient density in our food growing up, within our family, but we never really thought about per se the soil nutrient density, right? So Jason's like, okay, I have all this organic waste that we need to do something with, and where are we going to put this, and how are we going to use this? And we used to top dress our fields with like just the straight manure because it's so rich. And Jason goes, there's something more to this conversation. So fast forward, and we now have a commercial composting site where we take all of our litter, all of our waste, all of those feathers, like actual turkey feathers, and we put everything in rows. We turn, and you can see it actually in our 3-minute video, and you can see kind of Jason like talking about it off of our website. But we actually create this high quality humus compost that goes back into fields. Sometimes we put it in the barns to create that really healthy microbial environment, but also to enrich the soil and add back that nutrient density that we are all really depleting out of our soil in and across the country, right? And so this is a regenerative practice, right? You're taking something that would have gone to a landfill, you're creating a high quality nutrient dense compost, and then you're applying it throughout, our open fields, or we started working with local CSA farmers. This compost has landed on the top of the Academy of Sciences building in San
Wow.
Francisco. Yeah, it goes down to links of garden materials in Redwood City for anyone who lives in that area. You can find it there, and it's just this like full circle of farming where it's like, yeah, we may not impact the soil like a row crop farmer, but that doesn't mean that we can't do our part in creating something that truly gives back. You know, so that's kind of those two components, and then the gray water and the water reclamation practice. So most farms aren't located out like a 5 mile dead end road in a rural county. Most processing facilities are located in a municipal water, municipal water system, right? In, a more developed area. So we're super special that way. No one would ever choose to like build this processing plant in the middle of where we are, but that's what we've got. So we work with it. So we actually rely, and we have, and this happened, I think I was probably like 8th grade or early high school. We started using a xenon filtration system to take all of the groundwater, all of the water that we use to clean our birds, the fresh water, fresh well water that we use to clean the birds and eviscerate and process. It all gets captured. 100% of it gets captured, and then we filtrate it through this filtration system, and then we consider it gray water. It's actually filtrated and cleaned to the point where you could drink it. It is like drinkable. We've had people drink it. I don't know that I really want to drink it, but you could. But basically, we then use what we call this gray water as an opportunity to irrigate our pastures in our GAP Step 5 program. So all of the pasture that we irrigate, because again, in the summer months, it will go brown, and so we're irrigating the pasture, and we have to keep it green. And so we'll irrigate the pastures with that. We'll wash our trucks with that. We'll wash equipment down. And it's just a reuse of this water. So we're not pumping out fresh well water to support our pasture-raised program. It's a gray water program.
Wow. And isn't compost, I use a service for composting. So they come pick
Yeah.
it up every 2 weeks and dump it out for me, but I can put my food waste in there so that I'm not contributing to the carbon problem that we already have with food and landfills. But doesn't compost and worm casings, which is essentially worm poop from compost, actually have a more nutrient dense profile than manure that's typically used on farms?
Exactly. Yes, it does. And so that's one of the huge benefits of it, is that it actually is going to be more balanced and more nutrient dense.
I used to do composting myself with actual worms, and I loved them, and all my friends were so freaked out, and I'd, like, pull
I
out all these
know.
worms and see how they're doing. I'm not doing it right now, I don't have a garden, but when I start
Yeah.
gardening again, I will.
Yeah.
Um, I have a ton of followers who are actually athletes.
Mm.
I am a live sideline reporter for professional paintball, totally random, left field. And so when I saw your certification in personal training, I was kind of curious about the correlation between that you have seen or you believe between eating clean meat and athletic performance.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. That's another like 90-minute topic.
I told you we can do this for 3 hours.
Yeah, perfect, perfect. Let me just go get like a glass of wine. No, yeah, it's huge. Like it's absolutely huge. And again, like so as if you're an athlete, so I grew up just like, a normal kid. Like I'm not super athletic or anything, but I was really interested in it, and I met a girl when I was in high school, a gal that was training. She was a professional triathlete actually, and she was racing, and we sponsored her with turkey. She just like she was adopted into the family, if you will. We absolutely love her. She runs a phenomenal business, by the way. She launched it during COVID. One of the home exercises that you can watch and follow
Mm.
along with, but it's fantastic. But at the end of the day, when I was training with Ryan, is her name, we started talking about that because I was really interested in it. And I was like, hey, what's your take? Because you're actually a professional triathlete. And what she had said, it kind of goes back to the satiation, right? The
Mm.
how satisfied and how consistently fueled your body is with quality protein. And so obviously, there's a lot of science and study that has gone into the benefits of whatever the many, many, many programs out there with protein shakes and protein bars, and the combination of the carbohydrates and the sugars and the protein. And I mean, there's a ton more research than I will ever know in my lifetime about it. But one thing that stands true is that cleanliness of the protein, the lean and mean quality protein that has really good, minimal ingredients, really just clean, is what supports muscle retention,
Mm.
development, and just that consistent power that you need when you are trying to accomplish whatever your goals are, whether it's an endurance athlete or whether you are, trying to tone and shape, or whether you are a competitive, bodybuilder. Lean, clean protein is the name of the game all the way.
Yeah, I mean, just, I don't have any proof behind this, but my brain is kind of working as you're speaking and I'm putting things together. And I would think that the pure amino acid profile in clean protein. One quick point there, amino acids are considered the building blocks of life. They are used by every cell in our body. When we consume proteins in our diet and they get digested in our stomach and then in our intestines, it's amino acids that are left. The body then uses those amino acids as a source of energy to break down other foods, repair bodily tissue. It also helps with hormone secretion and activation and improves brain function. Let's get back to the interview. If it's your body's not combating all these other things, these sugars that are spiking your blood sugar, or trying to figure out what modified potato starch is and how it breaks it down and where it should store it or how it should excrete it, all it's getting is the pure amino acids and maybe some nourishing spices along with that to help with the absorption and performance of those amino acids. Your
Mhm.
body's just going to be fueled so much easier, and it's probably going
Yes.
to feel like it requires less motivation or energy to exert the kind of activity that you need to. That's just, again, off the top of my head, thinking through how it could be different between conventional and clean meat, but it seems like it would really make sense.
Oh, and I think you framed that probably better than I answered it. You're completely right. I call it the hum factor. When I was training, I would say, hey, like we got to get your body to the hum factor, and like my clients would be like, Heidi, I don't even know what you're talking about. I create funny things, but the hum factor to me is just what you said, which is when you inundate your body with processed foods that are unrecognizable, foods that have been created in a lab, that are, in a petri dish, and, created by man, right? Your body then has to go and say, what the heck is this? And how do I process it? And where do I put it? And how do I use it? And, it's the exact same concept as never least costing our feed. We're not trying to give the turkeys something that they can't recognize on week 5, and then week 4, and then week 10, and then week 12 of their life, right? To week 20 of their life.
Mhm.
We're providing really consistent, clean feed sources for ourselves and for our birds, so that the hum factor, your body can go, I've got it. I'm eating this and I know what it is. I know where to put it. I know how to use it. And there's no question that your body has to process, modified potato starch, corn syrup, or, anything else. The raw principles of, like, you talk about spices, right? What the benefits are of ginger or turmeric, or, an anti-inflammatory diet, or these types of things. And I do think still that, like, every body is different. Everyone
Mhm.
is satiated differently. The way that I eat isn't necessarily the way that the next person needs to eat. So we all have to find, like, what satiates us in this realm of the natural organic space. But yeah, clean protein is going to have its spot. And I don't think you have to eat like copious amounts of meat to
Mm-mm.
be, healthy. In fact, I think eating less is probably an okay thing because you're going to need less of it. Like it's
Mhm.
just not, you just don't have to eat 12 ounces of steak, right? You
Well, if
just
you
don't
eat
have to
too much of
constantly.
any macro, it just gets stored as fat in your body. So I usually say 2/3 should be, vegetables, seeds, fruit, and then
Yeah,
1/3 should be a really clean source of protein.
completely. Yes.
Yeah. I swear I'm wrapping up here. I only have one more
So
question before
great.
our quick hit
All
questions.
good.
We're gonna have to do another
All
episode.
good.
Quick disclaimer, we're about to jump into the topic of veganism, which I know can be very controversial. I just want to remind everyone that every body is different. Some people can thrive off a vegan diet, while others have a harder time doing so. We do not jump into the environmental benefits that veganism can have. We stick strictly to dietary nutrient profiles of vegan diets. Let's get to it. I get a lot of people. I have a client on Monday who is new, and she said she's trying to eat a vegan diet so that she can improve her lifestyle and her diet. And I always have to ask, is this ethical or is this a dietary trend? Because generally speaking, like you said, every body is different, and some people
Mhm.
can thrive on vegan, but a lot of historical vegans will tell you that they felt great year 1 and 2, and then year 3 and 4 and 5 and 6, they felt terrible. And I was vegan for
Yeah.
10 months and I looked sickly. My body needs meat. But
Yeah.
I imagine that being farmers and turkey farmers, you do have to deal with kind of the vegan population and answer to those questions. So
Yeah.
what is your response to vegans about, how you produce your animal products?
Yeah, I think it's a great question. So, I think that in any culture, like eating culture, if you will, like I think vegan is a culture of folks that can be vegan for a variety of reasons, albeit the ethical, the just the way that their body processes food, the raw nature of a vegan diet, so on and so forth. And so, there's going to be a spectrum, and there are going to be vegans out there and groups that really do not support Diestel. And if you look us up or even look at our blogs, you will find a lot of opinions that we have about those really, really far extreme vegan activist groups that just don't support farm animal ag in any context. But for those folks that are saying, hey, we think it's either better for the environment or a healthier way to be, I would really question this. I think that there's a small subset of folks that maybe just feel better eating vegan, but there are many, many, many folks out there who, just like what you said, will go vegan and then in a couple of years they're not healthy. Their skin is having lots of issues, whether it's dryness or rashes. Their hair is brittle. Their
They're
nails are
nutrient deficient.
they're nutrient deficient. That's a
Mhm.
great way to summarize it. And so, when we think about a vegan diet, you also have to have in a vegan diet a extremely high nutrient density within the food that they're getting. So if you go to any grocery store, and we've already talked about it, are you going to find that in just your basic organic almonds or, whatever? No. Are you going to find it in like all of these really processed vegan products? No,
And you even have to be
you're not.
careful about those nuts because they're often, um, covered in refined oils that cause
Yeah.
inflammation, and so you need to look for clean, sprouted nuts if you can. It's difficult.
It's incredibly difficult. So, quite frankly, unless you have your own garden and unless you have like your own angle on some sprouted grains, you're completely right. Like it's very challenging to eat that way and think that you're going to be providing your body the nutrients that it requires
Mhm.
to be healthy. Now, I'm not saying that everyone is this way, but I'm just saying that like I would be really weary and very cautious of it. And I think that unfortunately, there's a lot of dollars, there's a lot of folks supporting, right? Mr. Bill Gates just came out a few weeks ago saying that it was, you need to eat lab grown meat, basically, and that, really targeting the beef industry, but like saying, hey, like the beef can never be sustainable. It's just not correct. It's just not right. And, maybe the way that, highly commoditized commercial productions are raising these animals isn't right. We would agree with that as well. Eradicating, regenerative ag relies on the ruminant animal. You don't get to eradicate it. Like that's just day one. So I don't know, there's the founder of Epic. I don't know if you're familiar with Epic. They were acquired by General Mills, but they started off with this couple, Taylor and Katie, that founded it, and we met them, through the natural food industry, and they created basically Epic as a meat bar that they had created, and it's now since been like bites and sticks and that sort of thing.
Oh,
But
yeah,
they
I
were
do
kind of
remember.
first on the scene with like a true quality, like meat bar that was shelf stable, and they had been vegan. Katie had been vegan, and she went through that exact thing. She's like, oh, I thought I was being more ethical. I thought that it was going to be better for me, and she's like, I couldn't do it. And so then they just pivoted and said, we need to create a solution for people who want a really good meat bar as they're out on a hike, because it's really hard to bring a shelf, a non-shelf stable meat item out to wherever, you're trying to recreate, or, just in your normal course of day. And so I think that's a really neat story, because it's actually someone who was vegan, went back to eating meat, found all the benefits of that, and then created this fantastic company and fantastic brand that, really supported a more convenient and mobile lifestyle that we all have with a meat product. So the vegan trend, I think as a person in the meat industry, we're going to have to be really conscientious of it and really thoughtful of the way that we talk about it. And I just think that as a consumer, we really want to consider the choices that we're making, because it's celebrity endorsed. It's very popular to talk about. There's a lot of money behind it. It's up and coming. It's a booming category. And with that just comes a lot of misnomers about what that truly does to the average person's health.
Yep. I mean, just because you eat animal products doesn't mean you can't be ethical about it. You don't have to eat meat
Completely.
products at every meal every single day. You can
Right.
scale it back so you're doing something good for the environment while also supporting your body if eating meat products helps you reach optimal health. So I think that
Completely.
was a great way to kind of wrap up the big portion of our interview, go into quick hit questions. I do want to mention
Yeah.
that you heard it here first. We're calling out Bill Gates, telling him that one of his predictions is wrong. So, Bill Gates, if you want to make a comment, just shoot me an email, info@thecleanbodypodcast.com.
Feel
Uh,
free. Or hey, if we want to make a summit of like-minded farmers for Bill Gates to come and have a roundtable discussion, we'll host it. We'll be there.
I will be reaching out to you after this interview to start coordinating that. I'm happy to moderate.
Oh, Lord, what did we do? What did we just do?
I love it. All right, couple quick hit questions so I can let you go, get back to your ranch. First one is, what does having a clean body mean to you?
Uh, I think it's the hum factor. Having a clean body is having a clean mind. Not being bogged down by just life in general, right? And just, being able to see my challenges, my happiness, my joy, my struggles with clarity. I think that's what, being clean is really all about.
What are a couple other routine lifestyle and diet habits you have that you could never live without?
Ooh, I mean, I don't know. I don't know if it's diet, but like coffee it's a fuel. I haven't gotten off. Yes, I know. Actually, oh gosh, the rise and grind
There you go.
is my yeah. Coffee is a situation. I think that's one thing that I definitely enjoy a lot.
Yeah.
I would say it's my definitely my guilty pleasure. But for me, quite frankly, it's cooking. I try to really not rely on processed foods, and I try to purchase products. I try to force myself not to fall into the processed convenience foods. That's just one lifestyle choice that I make. And then it's so hard because I'm a young mother and also running a business and just super busy. But exercise, like, oh my gosh, getting outside, breathing, that is so important, and it's so hard to fit in all the time and be consistent with when you have other priorities. But if you don't do it, if you don't force yourself to get out and get healthy and just breathe fresh air and challenge yourself in an entirely different capacity, I think you're kind of missing out.
You
So,
are. There's lots of studies behind that. And I will say, in my coffee, I put heavy cream from a local farmer that I have
oh yeah,
asked questions from. So know where that creamer is coming from. Yep.
virtual high five. I'm so
Yeah.
pumped.
Last question. What other brands do you love and support?
Oh golly, that's going to be a long list. I will try to break it down. One that I really love. I mean, there's a lot, but Dry Farms wine. I don't know. I know it's kind of out of left field, but I was talking about it the other day because I get really, if I have any wine or anything, I break out because of like the sulfites and the mere fact that like we don't know what is in our alcohol or
Mhm.
beverages of choice. So I really like dry farm wines. They ship nationally, and they source really cleaner, not always organic. Sometimes like the above and beyond organic, but really clean. Um, I really love like hard to find really good clean olive oils.
Mm.
Most of the olive oils in our country are actually rancid,
Mhm.
and we don't really realize that, or they're mixed with like they're diluted olive oils. And so I love finding like local regional olive oil producers that are really like small. We are near the Sonoma County, and so like there's some smaller families that we source from there. But that's one of my favorite things to do, because I love cooking with olive oil and just like eating it, and it's really good on everything.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, Dick Taylor chocolates. I don't know if you've ever had their chocolates.
No.
They're out of the San Francisco area. Oh, they make the best chocolate. It's super tasty, really pure, really clean. So that's a really fun like chocolate purveyor. I don't know. I could go
Giving
on
me
and
all
on.
sorts. I know. I'm gonna need to get an olive oil and clean wine producer on
I
this
I'll send you
podcast.
some subscription links of people that I love. They're not the most least expensive, but in the summer months, when like you have really fresh veggies and like you're making like those salads, when you have a good olive oil, like, and really good arugula or just like a really good spring mix, like you don't need any other ingredients. And so that's like my favorite. It's my favorite way to eat.
Yeah, send me those. I'll put them in the show notes for everyone, like Heidi's
Really.
favorite subscriptions. And then last question for you. Where can people learn more about the Diestel Family Ranch and interact with you, the brand, get their hands on products?
Totally. So yes, follow us. We try to be relevant on social channels, so Instagram, Facebook, Pinterest. So you can follow us there. Check us out on our website, diestelturkey.com. You can purchase our products direct from our website, and we're constantly trying to add more and more of those. Our deli meats are going to be coming on quick here, so we're going to get those on there. And yeah, I mean, you can write us directly. You can call the ranch, quite frankly. So yeah, we're accessible, and we try to do like fun content and videos. We'll be doing more and more of them, but we're farmers, so we're just
You were
dorks.
great on this podcast. Are those videos on YouTube?
Yeah, we do have a YouTube channel, so you can subscribe. We don't have a ton of videos, but we're kind of like doing more and more of them, so you'll see them populating more this year.
Awesome. And I also love that you called out that people could give you a call and ask questions. So,
They really can, like, quite frankly. I mean, yeah, we list our phone number on all the packages we produce, and it's across our website, which is kind of a unique thing. Sometimes it's hard to find, and you really can call the ranch. Like it's a situation.
That is amazing. Thank you so much. This is by far the longest episode I have recorded, but I could just keep going on for hours. So we're going to have to stay in touch, continue collaborating. I appreciate you and what you do so, so
Oh,
much. Thank you for your
thank you.
transparency on this call. You were so honest and authentic, and I appreciate it. And I know people are going to appreciate it. So if
Yeah,
you're
you got it. And if you need us to chat with your husband at all, I'm happy to do that as well. We can just both eke out, little bit by little bit.
Well, I'm gonna fly out there. I'm from the East Bay, and we'll just have to get together. You and I can drink clean wine, and Jason can tell him all about all the things.
Now that would actually probably work. So let's pick a date. Springtime is the best time.
Done. Well, thank you so much. I super appreciate it. We will be in touch, but thank you.
Thanks, Lauren.
Hi, everyone. I hope you enjoyed that interview. Just as a reminder, this podcast is for educational purposes only. It is not a substitute for professional care from a doctor or otherwise qualified health professional. This podcast is provided on the understanding that it is not a replacement for medical or other health-related services, and we take no responsibility for the opinions of the guests we have on the show. If you're looking for help in your journey, seek out a qualified practitioner. You can find all show notes on thecleanbodyproject.com. It'll be right there on the homepage, and we hope to see you for the next episode.